When it comes to the Sonderkraftfahrzeug 250 and 251 half-tracks, these diverge onto their own two separate paths. The Sonderkraftfahrzeug 250 had tracks on a sprue from the first model in 1998, which was the 250/1 Neu or New Armored Personnel Carrier, or APC. The product number is 6100. Now, the first appearance of magic tracks on a 250 is the 2007 premium edition of the 250/1 Neu APC. So this was actually a premium version of Dragon's very first 250 kit, which I just showed you. The product number of the premium edition is 6427. From that model on, all 250s released by Dragon had magic tracks. As of November 2025, the only exception to this is the Cyber Hobby 2014 re-release of the 6100, which had the old tracks on a sprue, not magic tracks. Tracks on here, and then at the upper right you can see the track pads, and they went together like this. The risk of breaking some of those while cutting out the tracks as opposed to the track pads from the sprue were present. Now, the history of the 251s with the so-called EZ or easy tracks is slightly more complicated than with the 250s. The first Dragon Sonderkraftfahrzeug 251 half-track to come out was the Ausführung C in 2003, product number 6187. The original release of that version had tracks on a sprue, and they looked like this. The first 251 to have pre-cut tracks was the 3-in-1 Ausführung D. It was released in 2004 and might be the first Dragon kit to have pre-cut tracks. The C's have tracks on a sprue, and the D's have EZ tracks or pre-cut tracks. For instance, you see the C Ausführung C there, Wurfrahmen 40, the grenade launcher version. That one came out in 2005, so we are entering the age of Dragon also putting pre-cut tracks in many of their kits. It's the 251/17 Ausführung C with a cannon on top, armored cannon, from 2007. With lots of neat stuff inside, including brass with indicators and a DS driver, brass netting for picking up the spent shells, but still tracks on a sprue. It even included white box versions of the C versions. The C251s still had tracks on a sprue, even though they were the more expensive white box versions. This even includes some of the rather late C's. This is a re-release of an Ausführung C flammpanzer from 2019. Beginning with the re-release of the Wurfrahmen 40, every version now has pre-cut easy tracks. Both Ausführung C and D. So there's both a C and a D flammpanzer, and one had tracks on a sprue and the other pre-cut tracks. Dragon's line of Hetzer vehicles also has a somewhat different story. The first kit came out in 1994 and was the early version, product number 6030. It had single tracks on a sprue and a two-piece gun barrel. In 1995, two more came out. The mid version with a flammpanzer variant, product number 6037, and the early command version, which is product number 6060. These two also had single tracks on a sprue and a two-piece barrel. The first Dragon Hetzer kit to not contain single tracks on a sprue is the 2016 release of the Jagdpanzer Hetzer with 2 cm anti-aircraft gun, or Flak. Instead, it has Lincoln length tracks, which is close to unique for vehicle types done by Dragon. Its product number is 6399. As of November 2025, all Hetzers from Dragon would have Lincoln length tracks from 2016 onwards, with one glaring exception. The 2023 re-release of the mid flamethrower variant, product number 6845. It had single tracks and sprues yet again. The kit has a bunch of neat stuff, including metal barrel, clear pieces, the brown ones in the illustrations here. Those are 3D prints. But it also has the curse of the old single tracks and sprue, unadvertised on the cover, by the way. I too made the mistake of simply assuming that all modern Dragon releases in the 2020s would of course not have that kind of tracks, but there it is, buyer beware. Especially beware because this re-release of the first Dragon Hetzer model that we saw just a minute ago has Lincoln length tracks. The re-release of this old kit, the command version, also has Lincoln length tracks. The first Panzer I from Dragon came out in 2004 and was the B version, product number 6186. It too had single tracks on a sprue. Dragon's first Panzer I with magic tracks was also their first A version, product number 6289, and came out in 2006, this little box here. Another A, which came out that same year, was the flag mounted one, product number 6220. It had single tracks on a sprue yet again. 2 later releases had DS tracks. This was 2 Panzerjäger 1s that came out in 2008 and 2017 respectively. Their product numbers are 6230, which is the 2008 kit you see there, and then 6781, which was the 2017 release. With the exception of these 3, all Panzer Is from Dragon that I can find, including off-brand ones, such as the mono kits that I will get into later, come with magic tracks beginning in 2006 onwards. The Kleine panzerbefehlswagen, product number 6218, was released in 2 nearly identical versions by Dragon, one in 2004 and one in 2005. The boxes show the same release year, part count, and only inside the box of the 2005 release do you see an errata sheet. This is the missing PE sheet. It's just 4 pieces of photo edge, 2 long stretches, and then 2 shorter stretches. I don't know anything more than that because I haven't built it myself. And then you have these C14, C15 bits that are on the wheels here. These parts were omitted in the 2004 release, I assume by accident. I don't know if you can build a version of this command vehicle with the 2004 release of this particular kit, I do know that if you get the 2005 version, which has the exact same box as the 2004 version, you can build what was intended at least. The first Dragon Panzer II was made in 1996 as an Imperial Series rebox of an Elan 1995 kit. It was the Panzer II Ausführung C, or version C, with a tank crew. The crew sprue included 4 figures, but only one was meant for the kit. It had single tracks on a sprue. However, the gun barrel is portrayed in the instructions as single piece. It was product number 9026. Dragon then released an Afrika or Truppen version of the Panzer II Ausführung C the next year, which was a variation of the Elan kit, also with single tracks on a sprue, and, according to the instructions, a one-piece gun barrel, this time with no crew figures. This was product number 9039. Jump forward to 2007, when Dragon releases the F version of the Panzer II, product number 6263. You can see in the back of the box that there's interior detailing, there's interiors of the turret, and you also see the telling additional set of on-vehicle tools without brackets. That is specifically because in this version the PE sheet around here, you can recognize these kind of C-like structures, C-like bits, and then the elongated I-like bits and pieces there on the PE sheet. These are very small pieces which actually make up tool handles to make it go nuts, but be proud when they're done. This was a true modern Dragon kit with extras, as Dragon usually did not and still does not do a lot of interior kits. It also had a single piece gun barrel and magic tracks. There is another version of product number 6263 released by Cyber Hobby that same year. Comparing the instruction sheets leads to the conclusion that these two kits, which also have the same product number, only released by Dragon and Cyber Hobby respectively, have the same box contents. Unfortunately, I only own a copy of the Dragon version, so I can't verify that. Apart from the re-release in 2015 of this particular kit, all other Panzer IIs from Dragon, starting in 2007 onwards, had magic tracks. There is an exception in the form of product number 6440, the Bison, as re-released in 2015, which also came with DS tracks. The original 2011 release of the Bison, as well as the 2021 re-release, had magic tracks. And all these 3 versions had the same product number, 6440. Buyer beware. The first Panzer III was the Ausführung J, released in 1994 as product number 9011. As you can see, this was part of the Imperial series, and it was based on an original kit by Gunze Sangyo, as many from Dragon's Imperial series were. It had single tracks on a sprue and a 2-piece gun barrel. The next model in the series was the Ausführung M, or M, released in 1995, product number 9015. It had the same limitations, but now included metal grills. A flammpanzer variant was the next release. It was in 1996, product number 1917. It had the same kinds of limitations and features as the preceding one. The same year, Dragon also released a command version, a panzerbefehlswagen, Ausführung K, product number 9018. It had the same limitations of single tracks on a sprue and a 2-piece barrel. The command antennas were made of thin plastic parts. However, stainless steel wire was provided for one regular antenna, which seems like a strange choice. The antenna parts made from plastic certainly appear very brittle. An observation variant, the Beobachtungspanzer Ausführung H, was also released in 1996, product number 9030. The dummy gun was placed off to the side and was a 2-piece barrel, once again single tracks and a sprue and metal grills. The antenna was still the thin plastic variant. No piece of wire was included this time. The Imperial series also had a Tauchpanzer or diving panzer in the Panzer III series. It was released in 1996 as well and had product number 9033. Same characteristics as the M/N variant from 1995, and the diving tube and case were both two-piece. It bears mention that the last Panzer III of the Imperial series, an Ausführung H, product number 9029, was released in 2005, yet still had the characteristics of that second kit, the M/N variant. Dragon released a total of 10 Panzer III kits under the Imperial series moniker, from 1995 to 1998, and then the last one in 2005. From 2007, beginning with the Ausführung J, product number 6394, Dragon's Panzer III line was issued primarily under the Smart Kit moniker, and it basically signifies that it's supposedly a bit easier to build than regular 39 to 45 series kits, and contains everything you need, including a moderate amount of PE for things such as grills and mesh and very thin pieces all in one box. Marketing terms notwithstanding, from this model on, all Panzer IIIs that I could find via scale maze or otherwise had either magic tracks or DS tracks. The very next Panzer III model, which was an African or Truppen Ausführung N, product number 6431, was released by Dragon with DS tracks and by Cyber Hobby with magic tracks. That last one isn't entered into the ScaleMates database, but here it is. Most of this second generation also had one-piece plastic gun barrels. The exceptions found are two kinds. The orange box kits, which are all re-releases of old Imperial series kits with magic tracks and improved PE grills added. And the three SU-76I kits, which have product numbers 6838, 6850, and this 30th anniversary kit if it ever came out. The SU-76Is also have two-piece fuel drums at the back of the tank. The reason they're a bit odd is they were Panzer IIIs captured by the Soviets, then fitted with their own gun. From 2007 onwards, Dragon, including the Cyber Hobby brand, has released 53 Panzer III model kits, according to the ScaleMates database. Of those, 17 had DS tracks, and those are listed on the screen now, apart from the 6431 Dragon variant. 4 of them are in front of you as examples. Those are just the ones I happen to have picked up. I don't see a pattern as to which armor has one or other type of track, but perhaps someone more knowledgeable when it comes to the real tank tracks will be able to comment on this. In 2023, Dragon re-released 2 of the Panzer IIIs, product numbers 6474 and 6604. They also released a box with 3 kits inside, product number 6989, with a Panzer IV and the 2 aforementioned Panzer IIIs. Curiously, the 6474 model had a metal gun barrel in that particular box, but apparently not so in the single kit re-release. Since 2024, all Panzer III releases from Dragon has had metal barrels. It includes 3 kits so far, 2 of them with product numbers 6853 and 6904 that are the same as their previous iterations. So once again, beware and get a look at the box before purchase. According to the ScaleMates database, Dragon has released 68 Panzer IV kits as of March 2026. This includes 1 released by Shanghai Dragon and 9 Cyber Hobby releases. A number of those are re-releases with modifications ranging from minor to actual overhauls and improvements. The first Panzer IV kit by Dragon was an Ausführung J late, released in 1994, product number 6022. It was a departure from the usual level at Dragon at the time, since it contained 3 sheets of PE, albeit of a thicker kind than what was used from the 2000s onwards. The PE in the 1994 kit was used for spare track holders and frame and holders for the side skirts. It also contained nylon mesh for cutting mesh side skirts into shape. Like almost all of the early models, the gun barrel was two-piece and the single track lengths were on sprues. The next Panzer IV kit was an Imperial series, released in 1996, product number 9019. This was more standard fare in that it had only 4 pieces of PE for the spare track holders, single tracks on sprues, and two-piece gun barrel. Even the earlier F version, product number 9044, released in 1997, also had a two-piece gun barrel, even though the barrel was really short. A total of 5 Panzer IV kits were released by Dragon from 1994 to 1998. They all had two-piece barrels and single tracks on sprues. Coming to 2005, Dragon upscales the detail level of the Panzer IV kits dramatically. From what I understand, they wanted to compete with TriStar's announced line of highly detailed kits. And Dragon's line was turned into even more detailed and newly tooled sprues with more than 1,000 pieces per kit box. Loads of PE for chains and so on. Metal barrel for the gun. Metal pieces for external wiring. Tools with PE clamps to absolutely make you lose your wits trying to assemble them. The only question, I guess, is how much time are you going to spend building it? How satisfying is it for you to know that you did it with the PE clamps? I think even though the detail level is unquestionably very high, I also am of the opinion that it's very subjective whether or not it's actually worth your trouble. You also had the option of using the older blow-up version of the tools with molded-on clamps. As a middle ground, you could today replace the blow-up versions with the more modern moldings, which have more realistic-looking clamps molded directly onto the tools. And a lot of other manufacturers offer that as well. Very high parts count assembly of the sprocket and suspension, with the option of individual rivets for extra accuracy. Doubtlessly, some of those details would only be noticeable to the satisfied builder, him or herself, or those in the know. Separate rubber for easy painting of the wheels, or if you wanted them to look burned, something which I definitely look for whenever I look into a kit before purchase. The versions which had storage boxes on the back of the turret even had PE padlocks. The C version, product number 6291, had a PE choice for the engine ventilation, as did the two B versions and the Rakettenwerfer issue. Where relevant, all these super detailed kits had a PE choice for the ventilation flaps. Same goes for the rain guards on the turret hatches. You would also have complementary metal shells in those small plastic boxes with a lid that used to come with these things. There were also two DS figures in the first one, the Ausführung E kit, product number 6264. What is common among all these super detailed Dragon Panzer IV kits is they only depict the earlier versions with the short barrels. And so far, they only go from version B to version E. The A version has two kits that are similar, product numbers 6747 and 6816, which is the one in front of you, and uses some sprues from the super detailed version, but does not demand quite as much time and practice. Unfortunately, the very first version, Ausführung E, product number 6264, shared a common trait with the first TriStar release, which is this one, the Ausführung D, product number 015 of the TriStar series. I will leave a link in the description to the now sadly defunct but Internet Archive preserved Perth military modeling site for a very comprehensive review of the inaccuracies of the first super detailed Dragon Panzer IV kit. At that preserved site, you will also be able to read about the soon after released Ausführung E with Flakpanzer, which is this one, product number 6301. That kit had corrections for almost all of the inaccuracies, once again according to the Perth military modeling site. You can also read the review of the TriStar models at that site. Hobbyboss took over the TriStar company. and re-released these very detailed Panzer IVs, except for the first one, which had the mistakes, and which were corrected in this one, as far as I know. The original line of super detailed Panzer IV kits from Dragon comprised these 4 that you see on the screen right now. Later iterations of the super detailed kits from 2005 and 2006 comprise the following. Cyber Hobby 6512D Vorpanzer that you see in front of you. This was re-released as Dragon 6981 in 2022. Cyber Hobby 6327D Tauch. Cyber Hobby 6297B Standard, which was re-released as Dragon 6764 in 2012, but with the addition of a snowplow. You then had the Cyber Hobby 6437 Rakettenwerfer auf Fahrgestell Panzerkampfwagen IV, re-released as Dragon 6883 in 2023. And then you had Dragon 6976D version, which was a DAC or Deutsche Afrika Korps, following the original 2005 and 2006 releases of the nicknamed Superkit series that we just saw. In 2007, Dragon released a new Panzer IV kit, product number 6360, under the Smart Kit moniker. The long-barreled Ausführung F2 or G version, depending on how you look at it. Just as with the next generation of Panzer IIIs, which also began in 2007, this Panzer IV was a considerable step up from the Imperial series, although not nearly as many part as the Panzer IV Superkits. Kits from 2007 onwards had one-piece barrels and either pre-cut magic tracks or DS vinyl tracks. The only exception for two-piece barrels is the sole orange box Panzer IV kit, which was released in 2009, product number 9105, and Ausführung J Beobachtungswagen, with a bonus Kampfgruppe Piper infantry sprue. Like its Imperial series predecessor, it too has the very brittle plastic antenna. The following product number Panzer IVs that you see on the screen now were released with DS tracks. The kits you see before you are the ones that I purchased along the way, which happen to have DS tracks. In 2010, product number 6560 became the first Panzer IV to have molded on zimmerit. This would also be the case for 3 more of the Panzer IV line, product numbers 6611, 6823, and 6933. All of these had DS tracks. Not all Dragon's Panzer IV releases are correct in the zimmerit aspect. Information varies, but the Tank Museum in Bovington states that zimmerit was factory applied to some German World War II vehicles produced from August 1943 until September 1944. Link is in the description. Jensen Doyle states August 1943 as well in the Tiger I reference book as the start of the application of zimmerit. The Tank Encyclopedia's article Zimmerit in German Use states that 2 factories started applying it around November 1943, with factory application stopping by order of September 7, 1944, and field application supposedly stopped on October 7, 1944. Regardless, this means the following Dragon Panzer IV, which were introduced after product number 6560 came to market, to my understanding should have zimmerit molded on, but do not. An Ausführung H from autumn 1943, product number 6526, and product number 6629, which was an Ausführung J of the initial or early version, as opposed to the late version. Other Dragon Panzer IV, which to my understanding should also have zimmerit, are 6566, an Ausführung H late, and 6556, Ausführung J mid, produced from August to September 1944. This is as good a time as any to reiterate that this is just a hobby, and you shouldn't let anyone dictate how you build your models. I just wish you a good time building, painting and displaying them however you prefer. A special detailer version of the Ausführung H, product number 6300, was released as product number CH6300SP in 2019 in collaboration with Griffon Models. It contained 4 additional large PE sheets, metal cleaning rods, and metal barrel. The Ausführung F2 or G, product number 6360, received the same treatment that same year as product number DR6360 SP. 4 additional large PE sheets, metal cleaning rods and barrel, and an extra decal sheet. Since 2021, beginning with product number 6764, Dragon's Panzer IV kits have seen a range of re-releases, all with metal barrels and metal schürzen where applicable. The Panzer IV was ostensibly the most produced and varied tank manufactured by the German army until 1945. Dragon's catalogue certainly indicates this. Not only is it the model with the most kits in the Dragon lineup, as far as I can tell, but it also has a wealth of variations. There's, for instance, the Flakpanzer IV in its Wirbelwind, Ostwind and Kugelblitz iterations. The last is emblematic for Dragon as well, since only 2 were confirmed to have ever been completed and entered combat in real life. But Dragon has issued 6 different kits, including one orange box version. If you want to build a Kugelblitz that somewhat resembles the photos of the real-life version, it should look something like this. The 1998 and 1999 releases had tracks and a sprue. All of the Kugelblitz have one-piece double gun barrels for the flak, and the 2017 release of 6889 had DS tracks. The 2 subsequent versions, with the same product number, had magic tracks. Dragon released 4 Ostwind kits, which is the single barrel flak. One of them, 6746, which you see in front of you, had DS tracks. 2 of them, 6746 again, in both the 2013 and 2022 releases, had zimmerit, whereas the other 2 did not. The 2022 re-release of the Ostwind had pre-cut magic tracks instead of DS tracks. 4 Wirbelwind kits with 4 flak cannons were released, 2 of them with zimmerit. And this is one of them, product number 6565. And this one, product number 6926, also has zimmerit. Product number 6565, which is this one, had DS tracks, whereas the other 3 had pre-cut magic tracks.